advertisers and brands that are buying media against it. So first, let's go around and introduce everyone and give a quick little intro about what you do at your company, if that's okay.
Hi everybody, my name is Jim McArthur. I run the innovation lab within J. Walter Thompson called BOM, and we specialize primarily in emerging technology, new channels, and mobile line of business applications.
Ben Kennedy, I'm Group Director for the Integer Group, which traditionally is a shopper marketing organisation. The very nature of marketing and shopper marketing is changing, so we're trying to change with it, and I'm responsible for building out what that looks like from a business model standpoint, structurally, and from a service offering standpoint, as it relates to mobile.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Cheng. I'm the VP of Strategy at Saatchi Mobile. Our agency really focuses on helping our clients and brands to really understand how to maximize ROI from the mobile channel and platform. Also providing additional audience insights so we understand how they can change their products and monetization to really drive revenue from mobile consumers.
Vaino, Leskinen, I am the Global Mobile Director of TBWA. CHIAT, we are a creative agency at agency.
Great, so we've heard a lot today about whether the mobile banner is effective now, it's dying. So maybe we can get just a quick little tidbit on what the state you think that the mobile banner is in right now. Is it effective still? And if it is effective, what's valuable in it?
I think the mobile banner is still highly effective for several reasons. One is impression building. The idea that people being exposed to your brand as they browse the internet or use mobile applications is still highly effective in building an impression with the customer base. And then targeted marketing. Obviously, you search for shoes and then shoes follow you around for a couple of days. That can be highly effective. So I think we're seeing still a lot of interest in using banners down those two specific tracks, but it's definitely not something that's dying. I think it's evolving.
I think it depends who you ask. I think if you work for Mindshare or for a millennial, you would say no. If you work for a marketing agency, I think, to Jim's point, the banner plays a role. What I always think is, on one side of the fence, we talk about mobile being the most personable device we have. One of the most important communication vehicles of the last 100 years. And then on the other side of things, we're looking at 0.4% click-through rates. So something isn't working as far as the engagement of a mobile banner goes, but I'm not naive enough to think that the mobile banner at scale doesn't play a role in a much bigger mobile marketing plan.
And also the role of click-through, I think, is something that's sort of worth considering. What does a click mean to you versus an impression? How do you quantify both? It's something very new to our business.
Yeah, I would add the metrics on how you measure the effectiveness of banners and mobile advertising is evolving. But the other thing is that I would say we're pretty much at the tip of the iceberg in terms of the types of effective formats and banners that we have in store right now. In the early days, for example, desktop side, moving to mobile, like a lot of the web was focused on using responsible design to really just shrink down all the content to have a mobile optimized experience on their devices. But now we're starting to see the mobile behaviors of consumers are very, very different and changing because of mobile. So just the same way as tablets and devices have very unique personal experiences depending on what devices you are using and to visit certain properties. So the same has to happen on the banner side. Facebook is one step forward into that sort of direction in terms of really understanding how a mobile consumer actually behaves from top to bottom, rather than desktop maybe left to right, but really understanding the right format based on the consumer behavior and where they are in the customer journey is really important. So when you start factoring in those things and also understanding the ROI and scale of banners still exist today, you really have to figure out what the right balance is between the standard banner and the more complex, maybe has less scale, but still maybe more effective So it's a right balance of the different types of ad formats.
So, you know, a little over a year ago, I went on record saying I hate all mobile advertising. And that was my honest opinion at the time. I mean, stupid, but honest. And the reason for saying that was mainly banners. I mean, we do storytelling for brands, and those small things on your screen are just such a hard way of capturing the attention of the audience. Even if, in all fairness, as you mentioned, today we can open up nice story walls from a banner. We can do motion ads. We can do all kinds of cool stuff. But yeah, I haven't been a huge fan.
So if the metrics with mobile can be a little wonky and you're not necessarily looking at purely click-through, I know this was brought up in another session today, I was curious about what mobile engagement rate means and what exactly that measures. So,
Yeah, that really brings up an interesting point around acquisition marketing through mobile, mobile websites and acquisition campaigns on mobile versus functionality offered to customers through mobile applications. And there's different interaction models within both, but we see banners through both as well. So I think the purpose of a banner to expand the customer is seeing something new that they might want to buy or they might want to engage in within an application or within a campaign online. They differ wildly depending on which of those two flavors you're talking about. As an example, if you're in Waze and you're getting fed location-based data that drives you to a specific location, that's really advertising. It's not banner advertising, but that's the kind of stuff that we are learning to grapple with as marketing agencies, as ad agencies. But there's this whole other way of interacting with customers versus just putting a banner in their face. And how they react to that banner depends on where they sit in that ecosystem.
I think something that we've noticed for a while now is we seem to be more focused on the actual banner buy from a scale impression standpoint versus the actual creativity that sits within that frame. And as an industry, and I'm sure I'm talking now to people from media agencies and from sales organizations and maybe creative agencies, but nobody's really taken ownership of that. You know, the creative agency, it almost flies under the radar. They don't want to be dealing with, and sometimes on staff to really focus on, forget the banner, but mobile advertising. So what happens, and neither is the media agency, by the way. So what happens is the vendor or the media partner ends up saying, oh, you know what, we're going to lose a buy because you don't have creative. We'll figure that out. Leave that to us. And then that buy gets shipped off to somewhere like KL. We've had situations where a naked juice campaign was drink good, do good was the strap line, and because it went through 3 or 4 layers, it came back as do good and drink well. And that's fine, but when you're paying a creative agency millions and millions of dollars to get this right, and then the millions and millions of impressions out there don't really bring that work to life, then there's a gap. So who is going to step up and actually work out how to disrupt this really small, often intrusive frame with great creativity, and how do we staff for that? I think that's going to help with the engagement of the mobile banner.
I mean, I'll just add to, just on the from another perspective, you also have to factor in, the more complex and engaging banners, you also have to factor in how does that affect your reach and scale of reaching your target audience. So really understanding how you can measure, things such as attention and not going beyond the click-through rate, and really showing although the user maybe did not click through and convert on the mobile device, really understanding how it impacted their decision on maybe a conversion that happened on another platform, tying all that data together will really provide that full customer journey. So it's really about, sometimes the banner does work on mobile because on desktop or TV it really drove that awareness, and then mobile did a great job with converting that user further down the funnel. The app business is probably a good example where, in-app purchases are, increasing month over month, and we're starting to see that behavior change, and people are comfortable with purchase of a mobile device. So really leveraging that customer behavior with the right sort of experience and drive, not just the ad experience, but driving to the right landing experience is really important.
Does the vertical matter too when looking at mobile banners? So, for example, is auto more well suited towards a banner ad, or retail, CPG?
You know, mobile, one of the things that's cool is there's this immediacy to the ability to interact with the brand, right? So in the case of automakers, one of the things we're actually going to see later, but you know, this move towards click-to-call or concierge-style services offered through applications through companies like Lincoln. And I think that sort of dovetails directly with the idea of using banner ads to very quickly put people into an advanced CRM state, right? So getting them into that funnel in a way that's totally differentiated from a normal click-through. And I think certain industries are totally are catching on to that and can use it. And they're usually the big-ticket purchase industries, but you're seeing a lot of that, you know, on-site behavior, in mobile behavior, and now in banner behavior, where the idea is to use that device to connect very quickly to either a human or to an advanced CRM process.
And I can give you a real-life example specific to your question, Lauren, which is we have a national insurance client, and they are outspent on mobile media by 10 to 1 by another national insurance client. You can probably guess who that is. So that for them, the mobile banner is never going to win. They're never going to be able to compete in that regard. So they're putting a lot of focus on the retention of users, not the necessarily spraying and praying and gathering new users. And that has so many kind of offshoots as to how they do that. Making sure that there's utility at every turn, making sure, believe it or not, that people pay their bills in a certain way, because if they pay their bills online in a certain way, that's when they get hit by the 10 competitive banners and they're more likely to leave the insurance company. So we deal with the utility layer. Let's say you kind of cook the fish. What do you then do with them, and how do you keep them where you need them to be?
Yeah, I would say that the vertical does affect how you use mobile banners and mobile advertising. E-commerce retailers are a good example. Like the entire experience from research and decision making and all the way down to conversion could happen from start to finish on a mobile device. But something like auto, where you really understand how very disruptive technologies such as TrueCar are changing the decision-making process. Now people are doing the research on their phone and coming to dealerships already with the deal that they want and making the purchase, and it's really disrupting the way you decide on what car you want and negotiating the deal. So that affects the auto business at the dealership level, and how they work with sales teams and things like that. So really understanding beyond just the marketing and media funnels, but also really understanding the business and understanding how the consumers have changed because of mobile.
So your question was whether there's a difference between verticals. Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look at the presentations and the cases that go around, a large proportion seems to be in industries and in verticals that rely on driving people from one location to the other or to a virtual location. However, again, kind of repeating what I said earlier, it's not the main thing that we spend our days with. We tend to try and look at formats that allow for a more kind of emotional, elaborate storytelling.
Do you think brands are at that level though? I mean, are there certain brands that are just so deeply invested in banners that getting them to invest in other things is difficult, or because that's what they've done in the past?
I think short answer is yes. A longer answer is it depends. I mean, you said it depends on the objectives and the business case of what you're trying to do. But certainly there's a large number of brands who also see mobile as a storytelling device, or actually the connecting point between the virtual and the physical in storytelling.
Yeah, to me, I would say it's not about like, spending, stealing budget from standard banners to going to like more rich experience or native ads and video. It's more about, I think, there's an incremental spend going to mobile from other platforms, and it's about how we allocate that growing mobile budget, and finding that right balance of how much should be going to standard banners and so rich media and video. Like, just really understanding that mobile mix in terms of media is important. So I wouldn't say it's stealing one or the other. It's just kind of an incremental growth and just different allocations depending on the objective of the campaign.
I think they're ready for it. I don't think they're always willing to pay for it. That's the problem. And the banner's a good example. I think they know they need that kind of scale, but they put less value on the cost and the input that goes into framing what the experience looks like. I think we're entering a kind of second wave of mobile right now. I think we're leaving the age of we need an app because they have an app. We need our site to be responsive. We need to do something with SMS. Okay, we have these things, now do they work? Right? Do they do what we need them to do? Are they UX ready? Are they delivering specific ROI from either a commerce standpoint or an engagement standpoint? So I think the clients are becoming more and more in tune with the necessity to be omni-channel, as a word that we knock around. We want to use it, but they're not necessarily scoped or willing or ready to change budgets and invest behind certain things.
Once again, if you're selling banners on mobile, everybody just goes to click-through eventually, and then the statistics are horrible. They're just everybody, especially if you start factoring things like how bots behave and just the reality of how people perceive buying mobile banners. There's sort of a gap between this new future where there's a lot of possibility and sort of the perception that banners work a certain way. And I think that's probably the one big thing to take away from a session like this is that the things though seem codified very quickly uncodify themselves in a matter of months or weeks. So this space is reinventing itself. There are all kinds of new channels that we wouldn't have considered mobile, remotely mobile 2 years ago, such as the Samsung VR. So, we're now Microsoft HoloLens. All of these new technologies are coming along. And the state of display and the state of how you reach a consumer with a message, be it, an interstitial or, again, a banner, these are questions that are up in the air. So I think it's just really important that people look at it from the creative point of view. That's a really good point. The creative will serve you to no end, and then let the spend and the planning kind of follow those threads. The strategic and creative threads will always matter the most.
And then in terms of new tactics that are shaping the way the banners developed, like I said, there's things like social media, video are going to be big players. We put together actually kind of a neat, like a slide video that may be a good time to tee this up and show and give a little bit of, do you want to explain exactly what this is showing here?
That thing up there? Yeah, and just for the record, I don't pay for mobile advertising anymore. I just wanted to say that. And some of the reasons why are kind of gathered up there. This is not scientific nor in scale, but it basically uses the idea from the Gartner hype cycle, which is based on the idea that all technology triggers in the short run go through a peak of inflated expectations, then there's a backslash of the technology not meeting what the hopes were, and only then do you find this kind of catalyst of enlightenment and productivity. And a couple of the things that seems, native video has kind of popped up. 12 months, obviously, in mobile is a lifetime. And native video has just kind of popped up there, and because it's such, it has also much monetization potential for some very big players. Also, the native video advertising technology is catching up soon. So not only can you put out there a format that allows for a more emotional and creative storytelling, but you can also give the control of that story to the audience. So you can either overlay the videos with controls or use end cards, use maps, and so forth to make it interactive and let the people co-author the story. So native video, native ads, certainly. In-game advertising has been close to my heart for a long time. And kind of, there's probably, if you ask 5 people, you get 6 definitions for native. We were kind of talking about that before coming on stage, but if you use a couple of different definitions for native in-game, I think there are very few examples. I know only one example of a brand being able to go out there and from scratch develop a hit game, and that brand is Kim Kardashian. And don't laugh. That's a great case. It's a great lesson. We've had success in doing in-game advertising where we embed the elements to the actual game, and in that way kind of give the player more, whether that's power-ups or virtual currency or exclusive levels and so forth, operating within a game that already has a significant payoff. And then to think that if you were in CES or, well, basically Adweek, watching any media, the kind of the hype around the Internet of Things and connected products and so forth, that hasn't escaped us either. Across the TBWA network, we have a wide range of initiatives going on, which most of them don't make any sense. There's, coffee cups that are powered by hot coffee and so forth. However, I promised to show you one case, which I particularly love. It's from Australia, and the great thing about that one is that it actually has a storyline, so we're using the product for storytelling.
Have you ever noticed that the world's most powerful men don't carry a wallet? In fact, have you ever seen them pay for anything? Well, now you can join them. Introducing the MJ Nail Power Suit. In collaboration with Heritage Bank and Visa PayWave, we've developed the technology to embed a contactless payment chip and antenna into the sleeve of a suit. So now you can pay invisibly wherever you go. And because it's linked to an online account, you can check the balance and top up your suit instantly. The suit is threaded with Australia's finest merino wool, spun by Italian weavers, hand-stitched by Japanese tailors, and powered by contactless technology. It's wearable technology that a gentleman would actually wear.
Vaino swears that is an actual product. It's not a hoax, so you're not joking us on this?
I promise. It's maybe not the biggest selling product at FBA, but it is a real thing.
That's great. So, you have time for a couple questions, and we're going to take a break. I won't let you leave until you ask a few questions, though. So, anyone on the panel, any questions that you have about the types of advertising we're seeing in the band? Let's hear them.
My name is McArthur, I'm with TXT. I hate to say this word, but I promise I'll wash my mouth with salt after the exhibition, after the show, but